was never really good playing role of the puppet. Too busy being me, to be concerned with perception of the public. Everyone is buzzing, but everybody ain't thinking about a budget. I want ownership in something.
Wife of Apocalypse and mother of the first horseman. Hailing from the ancient nation of Akara, she and Apocalypse ruled the nation together until the daemons of Amenth and their leader Annihilation attacked them, splitting Akara into Krakoa and Arako. In the brink of defeat, she and the other Akaran mutants sealed themselves with Arako to delay the invasion until Apocalypse could rally a new mutant society to help them change the tide of the war. After millennia of war, she was tricked by Annihilation into killing its host, forcing her to wear the helm and be controlled by the old god, leading her to organize the very invasion she fought so hard to prevent. Trying to invade Earth through Otherworld, Saturnine interrupted the conflict and organized a tournament to settle the matter. The Krakoans won, and Genesis was freed from Annihilation, and in a following exchange of prisoners, Genesis chose her husband to come with her back to Amenth while he chose Arako, freeing the Araki at last. Genesis was the wife of Apocalypse and ruled the ancient mutant land of Akara alongside him. She bore him 4 children who became the first horsemen. When Akara was attacked by the Amenthi daemons, Genesis led the mutants to battle. When the mutants appeared to be winning, the Dark Elder God of Amenth, Annihilation, offered a peace treaty to Genesis, but only if she would pass a test. Genesis seemed to easily pass the test, but the terms of peace Annihilation whispered to Genesis were known only to her. Genesis refused the terms, and the war continued. After Genesis' sister, Iska the Unbeaten, a mutant with the power to never lose, betrayed her people by siding with the forces of Amenth, it became clear that the mutants could not win. It was decided that Arako, one of Okara's split halves, and all of the Akaran mutants would be sealed off into Amenth to halt the invasion and hold off the demons, while Apocalypse remained on Earth to rally a new mutant society capable of repelling the demons when they inevitably returned one day. After being sealed away in Amenth, Genesis and the other mutants decided to make Arako their home and built towers to protect them from the threat of the demons. She, along with the Great Ring of Arako, ruled over Arako for millennia while fending off the demons' attacks. However, at some point in time, the High Mutant Prophet Adil foresaw the inevitable defeat of Arako and warned the Council. Genesis dismissed the claim as nonsense, but decided to rally an army, which she led on a years-long crusade to end the threat of Amenth for good. Their battles became legends on Arako, and their victories were celebrated. Driving deeper into Amenth than ever before, they encountered the White Sword and his 100 champions. The White Sword had sacrificed himself to hold back the demons during the initial invasion of Amenth and was long believed dead. The years of isolation had driven him mad, and he saw no difference between Genesis and her armies and the demonic hordes he repelled on a daily basis. He would deal Genesis' army its first defeat, eventually forcing them to retreat to Arako. When she returned, she found her sister Iska waiting for her, carrying an invitation from Annihilation to parley. Genesis accepted and went to the Hall of Annihilation, where Annihilation and her army awaited her. There she learned that Annihilation and the daemons had merely been biding their time, breeding its daemons with mutant captives to create a powerful hybrid warrior race. Annihilation again offered terms of peace, but Genesis refused and the two fought. The two fought fiercely, and eventually Genesis defeated the Dark God, severing the golden helm of Annihilation from its host. She did not realize what this meant, however. By removing Annihilation from its host, she left the Amenthi horde leaderless. Without the control of its master, the horde would consume everything or die trying. The full might of Amenth attacked Arako, while Genesis remained captive in the Hall of Annihilation. For a century, she refused to claim the helm until the hordes cracked the walls of Arako. Desperate, the mutants of Arako opened a gateway to Dryador in Otherworld. Realizing that all was lost, and the demons would soon be free to leave Amenth, she donned the helm, hoping to be able to control it. She failed and fell under the sway of Annihilation. Under the control of Annihilation, she captured Arako and prepared to marshal her forces to invade Otherworld and ultimately Earth. After pacifying Arako, the Annihilation-possessed Genesis ordered an assault on Dryador. the same time, she sent her grandson Summoner to Krakoa in order to make contact with Apocalypse and manipulate him into opening a route to Otherworld, allowing the Amenthi daemons to invade the Earth. The plan was a success, and as Dryador was destroyed and the Starlight Citadel besieged, Apocalypse was tricked into meeting his erstwhile children, now in service of Annihilation, who nearly killed him. Seeking to stop the conflict erupting on her lands, Saturnine, the ruler of Otherworld, intervened and forced the two sides into a ceasefire. She offered to host a tournament wherein the champions of Araco and Krakoa would face each other in a tournament to settle the matter. Genesis had the Horsemen recruit their champions and led them herself to Otherworld. After confronting Saturnine in the Starlight Citadel, Apocalypse, who led the Krakoan champions, would encounter his wife once more, as she revealed herself to be the latest to wear the Mask of Annihilation. After that, the two met again under the Starlight Citadel, where she told her husband the full true story of what had happened to them while on Amenth. Annihilation then observed behind the scenes as the tournament went on. Following the battle between White Sword and Gorgon, the scores for Araco and Krakoa were even, and both Annihilation and Apocalypse prepared to fight in the deciding battle. During their battle, Genesis without the Golden Helm seemed to have the upper hand as she managed to destroy her husband's sword, but Apocalypse surprised her, seizing the Twilight Sword and shoving it through her stomach. She begged Apocalypse to kill her, but he refused, prompting Annihilation to seize control of Genesis and summon almost all of the Amenthean forces to Otherworld, intending to conquer Krakoa for good. However, as the war went on, the champions of Krakoa were joined by the reassembled X-Men and Captain Britain Corps, and eventually the Vescora. As the war was seemingly turning to Krakoa's favor, Apocalypse was able to remove the Golden Helm off Genesis' head, causing it to possess Apocalypse. However, unlike Genesis, Apocalypse was able to overcome the helm's influence and used it to make the Amenthean forces to surrender. After that, Saturnine transformed the Golden Helm into a staff, limiting its corruptive influence, and gifted it to Genesis. She also demanded that the two mutant nations exchange prisoners in good faith. As the ruler of Araco, Genesis chose her husband Apocalypse to join her in Amenth, while as the representative of Krakoa, Apocalypse chose the mutant island of Araco itself, freeing its millions of mutants from exile in Amenth. Reunited with her husband, Genesis returned with him and their children to Amenth. Genesis is an Omega-level mutant hailing from a generation of Ocaran mutants. Her mutation, while not specified, was confirmed to make her so powerful that not only is she deemed more fit than her husband, but she is also the only one capable of defeating Annihilation in single combat. The following are abilities assumed based solely on aesthetics, though they have not yet been at all defined. Chlorokinesis. She could mentally control all plant life within her vicinity. While using her powers, she manifests the ancient Egyptian emblem known as the Eye of Horus, formed by a green aura from each of her hands. In the Fisher King's past, Annihilation revealed that Genesis could spy on others using the microscopic flora within a person's body, with her having used it to keep track of his and the Night Seat's activities. Advanced longevity. Like her children, Genesis is several thousands of years old. Sword combat. Genesis is skilled in sword combat as she was able to defeat Annihilation. Having proven to be strong enough to wear the Golden Helm of Annihilation, she became the new leader of Amenth, but under the possession of Annihilation. It was then turned into a more manageable staff,